Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Sapphire Trash in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, "My ex-best friend attempted to take her own life. I don't care. I haven't reached out. She slept with my boyfriend behind my back. We're both 20-year-old females and have been friends since reception. She was my sister, my rock. We stood by each other through everything. When my parents divorced, she was there to offer a shoulder for me to cry on. When her grandmother died, I was there, keeping her afloat throughout high school. I'd been dating my boyfriend for about 3 years. We started dating in 6th form and he was my first serious relationship. I introduced him to my family. He was part of many of my firsts. He was sweet, a little awkward being a gamer guy, but he treated me to date nights and always made me feel special. Maybe this is me being young and naive, but I thought I'd marry this guy someday. This was something I told my best friend. About a month ago, while my boyfriend was in the shower, I saw a text notification pop up on his phone. We look at each other's notifications all the time, so I grabbed his phone to see it. It was from her, asking if they were still on for tonight and if she should wear his favorite dress. He told me he was hanging out with friends and going drinking. Him going drinking with friends wasn't unusual, so I never thought anything of it. In hindsight, I wonder how much of him going out was with friends and how much was with her. I saved screenshots of their conversations and sent them to myself. I showed him the messages when he came out of the bathroom and demanded he explain himself. I couldn't contain how upset, angry, and hurt I was. An argument ensued where I told him he was disgusting and I left his place. Shortly after arriving home, I started getting bombarded with calls and texts from my best friend. I answered none of her calls. I couldn't stomach hearing her voice. Her texts ranged from, "She never meant to hurt me, my boyfriend hit on her first. It didn't mean anything." Then it got angry, saying I should hear her out. If I was a real friend, I would take her calls. I'm being petty and childish for not listening to her side. Then back to sad, saying I was her closest friend in the world and she didn't want to lose me. My boyfriend was strangely quiet during this time. After a few days, I got myself together enough to send them both messages. Maybe it was cowardly, but I didn't have the strength to call them. I told my now ex-boyfriend that we were done and I won't give cheaters any chances with me. He responded by trying to call me, but after the 3rd or 4th attempt, he gave up. He sent me a final message saying it wasn't that big of a deal, that they just fooled around, but agreeing he didn't want to date me anymore. My ex-best friend was more persistent after I told her I wanted nothing to do with her. Day after day, I'd get messages and calls from her, demanding to talk, demanding we resolve this, demanding I not say anything to anyone, saying she stopped seeing him, saying she'll kill herself if I don't talk to her. Really messed up behavior. I ended up confiding in a mutual friend about what was going on because I was seriously beginning to wonder if I was being unreasonable. This friend reassured me that my feelings were justified. However, I wasn't expecting this friend to spread around what happened. The gossip spread like wildfire, and a few days ago, my ex-best friend tried to take her life. I said nothing. I haven't visited her in the hospital. I haven't sent any messages to her family. Now her older sister keeps messaging me, telling me I'm a heartless person for leaving her at her lowest, for not trying to prevent this and that everyone makes mistakes, and that her sister didn't intentionally hurt me. Maybe it does make me a heartless person, but I don't care. I'm relieved she survived, but I'll never forgive her. I'll never forgive her betrayal. She destroyed our friendship when she slept with my boyfriend. As most of you know, I can also be kind of petty and heartless, so I'm on OP's side. Of course, this is a terrible situation and someone's life was almost lost, but it's no longer OP's responsibility. No true best friend would ever betray their friend by sleeping with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Obviously, I don't think OP should be wishing for her friend to die or anything, but she is totally justified in her lack of concern about what happened to her. User Petty LaBelle said, "You are not a heartless person. You are the victim of a heartless individual and a cheating partner. Your friend betrayed you in the worst way, then tried to emotionally manipulate you into continuing the friendship so she could alleviate her own guilt. What she chose to do afterward is also on her. All of this mess is of her making and you owe her nothing. Not sympathy, not forgiveness, and certainly not friendship. We must trust our friends after all. For your sake, you need to find a way to move forward without bitterness because that will only hurt you more. However you have to do that, whether through therapy or another method, you need to do it. but that does not mean you have to allow this person back into your life or listen to anyone who says otherwise. To this user met, Des said, agreed, hate and resentment are poisons we keep for ourselves. As they say, the best revenge is going on to have a wonderful and happy life. Be glad these two showed you who they are, and now you know you are not wasting more time on these fools. User Ladybug said, your best friend was still making current plans to continue cheating with your boyfriend. This sounds pretty intentional. None of it is your fault, and you are not obligated to ease your former best friend's mind with attention or forgiveness. She is suffering the consequences of her own actions. I hope your ex is suffering the same. I absolutely hate cheaters. User Queen Legolas said, good, don't contact her or her family. That's done. You're not responsible for her mental health. Make better friends, not gossiping ones like the one who told everyone, just cut them off. And if your family tries to pressure you to be friends with her, warn them that you're not above going low contact with them. Update. Hey, again, it's been a while. First, I want to thank everyone for all of their comments and support. In hindsight, I know now I wasn't being unreasonable, but in the moment when I was being bombarded by texts and calls from her family, it was hard not to let those thoughts mess with my head. I didn't know if I was going to post an update, but some things have happened, so this might get a little long. Sorry, giving fake names. Ex-best friend is Nikki, her older sister is Tammy, and ex-boyfriend is Josh. I'll name anyone relevant as I go. So I mentioned in a comment that my mom wanted to speak to me later that day. I had a few replies warning me that she would try to pressure me into forgiving Nikki, and they were right. She came over to my dad's that evening and wanted a conversation in private. She asked if I'd spoken to Nikki yet. I said no. She asked if I was going to. I said no. I was trying to be as firm as possible because I knew what she was about to do. She asked, don't you think you should? My response was, no, I don't see why I should. I sent her a final message almost a month ago. This is where things began to really go south in the conversation. Mum, love, she's in the hospital right now. She needs all the support she can get. You're meant to be her friend. I didn't even know about her condition until her mother called me. Really? I'm meant to be her friend after she slept with Josh behind my back. I didn't say anything about her because I didn't want to talk about her. Mum, are you really going to hold on to a silly grudge? I understand she hurt you, but she's hurting so much more right now. Love. Me. She's hurting. Mum, yes, you both are. I raised you to be a kind, forgiving person. Why can't you forgive her? Me. What? Like how Dad should have forgiven you. This wasn't my finest moment. I didn't bring it up before because it wasn't relevant, but the reason why my parents divorced was due to infidelity on Mum's end. And it wasn't only a one-time thing, but my mum always believed Dad should have just forgiven her. I admit this was a low blow from me, and the conversation spiraled into an argument from there, with both of us saying some not-so-kind things to each other. Eventually, I decided the conversation was over because we were just going around in circles and heading into yelling territory, so I told her to leave and that I'd try talking to her again when we'd both calmed down. When she was leaving, she said this, I hope you're not as cruel as your father. I'm typically not an angry person, but this infuriated and hurt me. I lived 50-50 between my parents. They both made sure I had everything I could need or want, but she felt her situation and struggles were undeserved. Dad never helped with bills or payments that didn't involve me. She expected more. Cheaters always do. I didn't say anything when she left, I just blocked her number and social media accounts and cried. She cared more about the girl who had hurt her daughter than her daughter herself. She realized pretty quickly what had happened and came back the next day, but Dad told her I didn't want to talk to her and she had to leave. It took maybe half an hour before she finally left. The next few days, she kept trying to reach me through other people, but I stayed silent. The Friday after my post, I decided I felt calm enough to talk to her and unblocked her. We spoke over the phone, which wasn't as dramatic as before. Basically, it was her apologizing and telling me she was wrong for trying to force me to forgive Nikki. She said she'd respect my decision, but tried to suggest I think about it. I very firmly told her I was not forgiving Nikki. She just said, okay. Things didn't really feel the same between us. I couldn't bring myself to be as chatty with her as I was before, and it didn't help that she kept giving me updates about Nikki. The first time she did it, she told me Nikki had been put on a 72-hour psychiatric hold, assessed, and eventually released. I told her I didn't want any updates on Nikki's situation. I wouldn't stop her from checking in, but I didn't want to be involved. She complained and said she thought I'd want to visit her, but I threatened to block her again if she kept pushing, and she stopped. Nothing was mentioned about Nikki for a couple of weeks before Mom again broke my boundary and brought her up. She told me about how Josh had stopped talking to her and how Nikki needed a shoulder to cry on. I again told her I didn't want to know and that this was her last chance not to bring her up or I would cut her from my life. She complained again, but eventually promised it wouldn't happen again. Maybe I should have learned from my mistakes because I know my mother. She doesn't take no for an answer. It was really quiet for a while. My friends and I had basically carried on from what happened, and even though I know a couple of them still occasionally talk to Nikki, they never bring her up around me or tell her how I'm doing. I thought I could finally close this chapter of my life, but no. Today, my mother called me and asked if I wanted to get lunch. I hadn't seen her in a while, so what was the harm? I headed to the Weatherspoons we planned to eat at and found Nikki and her sister Tammy sitting with my mum. As soon as Nikki sees me, she gets up and tries to hug me, but I just raise a hand and take a step back, and this girl has the audacity to look upset. Mum immediately knows she's messed up and starts scrambling with excuses. It hurts to see you two fall apart like this. You were so close. I thought you'd forgive her by now, and my favorite, she made a mistake, she misses you. During this time, Nikki has been quiet and I can see Tammy glaring at me. I'm just so angry and upset. I honestly didn't think she'd pull something like this. I wanted to leave and cry, but I looked at Nikki and said, for someone who's made a mistake, she sure hasn't apologized for it yet. She had this guilty look on her face and muttered something about me having her blocked and having no way to. I said, is that really all you have to say? And she just looked at me confused. I was done. I turned to leave and her sister started yelling after me, saying that I owed Nikki a second chance with all the trauma I put her through. Meanwhile, Nikki was begging me to just listen to her and talk to her. I told them all to go away and never contact me again and left. I managed to get out of there before Tammy started a fight and went home, where I sent my mom a text telling her she'd better lose my number because she no longer has a spot in my life. Then I blocked her and just cried. My dad's been doing his best to comfort me, but it just hurts so bad that my own mother did this to me. So that's where things are at right now. I'll update if anything else happens, but this whole situation really sucks. Update 2. Hey there everyone, I'm the girl who made the "my ex-best friend attempted to take her life" posts. I didn't think labeling this post like that really fit. First, I want to apologize for taking so long to give you an update and to thank you for your kind words. I've not been able to reply to many messages, but I've taken the time to read through every single one and appreciate each of them. This Christmas has been amazing. I spent it with my family, with my dad. I went out on Boxing Day night with my friends to party hard and regret it harder the following day. I'm in a much better place than I was back in December 20th, 23. That's kind of why I struggled to give you all an update, because around Christmas and New Year's 2023, I was not in a good place. I really needed to focus on myself and work on getting myself in a better place. As of January 20th, 24, I have been no contact with my mother. Unfortunately, I've seen her since then and I've done my best to avoid talking to her in the 3 occasions I've had to be in the same place as her. Not out of choice, mind you, but it is what it is. During Christmas 2023, she had expected that I was spending it with her and her side of the family. Given the events at that time, this was obviously not happening, and my dad told her as much. She lost her mind. She refused to take no as an answer leading up to Christmas, to the point where Dad and I left for my paternal aunt's house on Christmas Eve to spend the night there. According to a neighbor, my birth giver showed up pretty early in the morning to catch us leaving, but was irate to learn we already weren't there. Thankfully, my aunt had moved house quite recently, so my mother didn't know the new address, but we came home to parcels completely destroyed on our porch the following Boxing Day. There was even a Christmas card labeled to me, but inside was a horrible letter from my mother describing me as the worst daughter on the planet. That honestly destroyed me, and I spent New Year's a mess. It's difficult cutting off your own mother. I spent half of January 20th, 24 trying to fix things with her, but it came to a head when I realized I was the only one forced to compromise. I finally cut off contact and it's been that way since. There's been more between then and now, but I think those are incidents I'll post on my Reddit page or in the comments of this post to prevent it from getting too long. In terms of Nikki, I've heard she's doing better. We've not spoken since my mother's lunch escapade, but she's found a job and, according to a mutual friend, found a new circle. Despite everything that she's put me through, I'm happy for her. It's almost 2 a.m. here in the UK, so if I suddenly stop responding to comments, I've fallen asleep. User Hyena Shot said, "I'm sorry your mother turned so insane. You did the right thing cutting her off. Cheaters and homewreckers tend to band together, thinking their actions are just mistakes." They are too selfish to think about the harm they do to others. They only care about what they want and how they feel. I hope things continue to get better for you. User No Ad said, OP, I'm really glad to hear that you're doing better. I know other comments mentioned it, but your mom latched onto the situation solely because she sees herself in your ex-friend. I'm glad you know that you don't need to keep someone around who doesn't respect your boundaries just because you share blood. Your dad sounds like a rock star, and it seems both of you have great morals and will not put up with any type of dishonesty or disrespect. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday season and know that you have a community cheering you on over here. 2025 will be your year. This next story was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Amazing A-hole. The post is titled, Would I be the jerk if I ghosted my ex-wife? I know you're going to say it sounds like a fake Hallmark Christmas movie, and I'm right there with you. Honestly, I wouldn't believe it either if it didn't happen to me. So if you can't believe it, then just pretend and give me advice anyway like I'm a real person, because I am. I met Sarah in grade school in our small town. She was my first everything, girlfriend, love, and eventually wife. We both went to college together, and after I graduated, we got married when I was 23 and she was 21. Sarah was still finishing her degree, and I worked hard to support both of us while she completed her studies. When she got her first job, I was so proud of her. It felt like all our sacrifices and hard work were paying off, and I thought we were on our way to building a life together. For 2 years, everything seemed fine, or at least I thought so. Then one day I came home from work and found her packing a bag. She sat me down and told me she had been having an affair with a coworker. I was completely oblivious. She was crying and apologetic. She said she loved me but was in love with the coworker and that they had this chemistry and a deep connection she never felt with me. At the same time, she seemed genuinely apologetic and acted very guilty. She moved in with the coworker that night. Sarah made the divorce as quick and easy as possible. She didn't contest anything and took almost nothing. In the state we lived in, you can get a divorce in 10 days if there are no children involved. We filed the papers ourselves as we couldn't afford a lawyer. After it was final, she asked if we could be friends, and I'm ashamed to say that I just broke down and sobbed like a baby in front of her, said nothing, and left. At that point, she was 23 and I was 25. A couple of years later, in early 2020, while riding out COVID in my hometown, my mom casually mentioned that Sarah had married the guy she left me for. Apparently, Sarah's parents and mine had talked about it since they're longtime friends, and Sarah's parents were hesitant about the marriage but supported her. Hearing that stung. I had done everything I could to move on, but knowing she had married her affair partner felt like reopening the wound. I told my mom as kindly as I could that I didn't want to hear about Sarah anymore. She understood and never brought her up again. I was broken and depressed at first, but I went to see a therapist and got on some medication. I got some certifications, and through a friend from college, I got an interview with a global consulting company. My friend was married and couldn't do the amount of travel that the job required, so he pushed hard for me for the position. I started traveling around the world and pretty much worked all the time at first. On any given day, I was either in the gym, working, or having a virtual therapy session at 3 a.m. I was a dull boy. I got into incredible shape thanks to lifting and running. Eventually, I got a long-term project in Romania and was able to meet and have relationships with women. Fast forward a few years. Recently, I had a few weeks of vacation saved up and I wanted to spend Christmas in Reykjavik, Iceland. I went to my parents' place in my hometown for Thanksgiving with my sister and brother. Last Thursday, I was at the local independent drugstore in what passes for downtown in my hometown. It has a lunch counter like an old-fashioned drugstore. I got a cup of coffee and sat down at the counter drinking it when Sarah sat down beside me and said hello. She was super nervous and red in the face. I was shocked and just sat there looking at her. I was exploding inside, but I kept my cool outwardly. She was still beautiful. She had become very fit herself and lost her baby face, becoming perhaps even more attractive. She started by apologizing for how she ended our marriage. I told her she had already apologized countless times when she dumped me, but she insisted that she was young and stupid, and over time, she realized how much she had hurt me. She wanted to meet me later in a less crowded spot with fewer spies. I shook my head no and told her frankly that I didn't see what I could possibly get out of meeting her again. That kind of took the wind out of her sails and she deflated. She admitted that it was probably more for her than for me. She said I'd get closure not only for how she ended things, but for the kind of person she was back then. She wanted to tell me about how she'd changed and what she'd learned about herself and what real love is. She wanted me to see that the person she became is someone I could respect and maybe be friends with again. I wanted to get out of there, so I just told her I'd think about it. She gave me her number and I went home. Apparently, my mother and sister had already heard about it from Sarah's mom. So I'm a victim of some kind of Hallmark Christmas movie scenario. My sister, 29F, and mom, 55F, told me that they had kept up with Sarah since our divorce and knew that she changed and that I should hear her out. My dad, 56M, just shook his head and walked off. My brother, 22M, thought all of this was hilarious. I asked if he wanted to chime in, and he just shrugged and said that since Sarah and I knew each other from childhood, I should at least hear her out to keep the peace between our families in our small town. Personally, I think her family would feel insulted if I didn't talk with her. I know she's living with her parents now, so it seems like her life has completely fallen apart. I'd kind of like to get the gory details as a form of schadenfreude, but it's all behind me now, and I think it would just make me sad. I'm a better man now, more mature, wealthy, and fitter than when I was with her, but I'm still the same guy she didn't have chemistry with back then. So I think whatever she says would be nonsense. I think she's probably a dragon cosplaying as a princess and wants me to be her white knight. No way. My mom and sister are pushing hard for me to meet her, and my mom says she's afraid that if I don't hear Sarah out, Sarah's mom will resent her and complicate her social life. Let me be clear, I have no intention of getting back with Sarah. Sarah is beautiful, but so are the women of Romania, Iceland, and elsewhere, and they have the added bonus of not breaking my heart. I'm interested in going just to hear about what happened to her after she dumped me and to smooth things over for my parents. What did you think, Reddit? Should I go? I kinda want to. Talk me down off of the ledge. Would I be the asshole if I ghosted my ex-wife? I feel like the answer here is obvious. I wouldn't give the ex any serious consideration, especially after the way she dumped and betrayed OP. I also find it a bit odd how the mother is involved in this situation. OP shared that his life is moving along amazingly. His career has progressed, his physical health is better, and he has developed relationships with people around the world. To me, it just sounds like the ex is looking for an opportunity to leech off of him. User the Burner75 said, "She's living at home and you are financially stable. What she wants is clear as day. I'm willing to bet both sets of parents are in on it as a way to hopefully get you back together and get her out of her parents' house. This woman is no good, a wicked, evil opportunist. Imagine taking her back and another guy who she has chemistry with comes around. She's untrustworthy, and I highly doubt that has changed. Don't waste your time." User MannyNader12 said, "NTA. Bro, your dad had no comment. That should speak louder than words. Honestly, if you don't want to go and hear her out, then don't. You need to talk to your mom and explain clearly that you are done with that woman. She needs to respect your boundaries on that." Update. I'm currently writing this from Reykjavik, Iceland. I have some friends I met while doing consulting work here. This time of year, the days are very short and the northern lights are visible. Unfortunately, it's supposed to be cloudy and rainy for the foreseeable future, so I'm out of luck with the aurora borealis. We're doing a Christmas pub crawl among other things. Reykjavik is very single friendly during the holidays. After I posted for the next couple of days, my mom and sister kept bugging me until I caved. I know. I made it clear to them that I had no intention of getting back together with Sarah and that I was angry they thought there was a chance I'd reconcile with someone who had betrayed me. Finally, I told Sarah I'd meet her at the playground at our old school. It's a small town, so there's only one school that's K-12. When we met, I told her up front that I was there as a favor to our parents and my sister. She acknowledged that and we engaged in small talk. She told me that she had started following me on social media and had seen how I'd been all over the world. She even commented on the girlfriend I had in Romania. I told Sarah her name was Monica and we had a great time together. She then started with the details I wanted to hear. Unfortunately, it wasn't very interesting, just regular relationship issues. She started living with the guy and quickly realized the relationship was no longer exciting. She said she knew the forbidden spark was gone the first time she had to pick up and launder his soiled underwear. She left me for a guy who was barely toilet trained. She said she was in denial that she couldn't have thrown me away for someone so unsuitable, so she doubled down by marrying him. Sarah was always very stubborn. He was apparently a good salesman who earned a lot in commissions but was really bad with money. They had many fights about finances and household chores. Eventually, she caught him cheating with a coworker. She left him with a wrecked credit score. She was pregnant with his child at the time and had an abortion. This is something no one in our families knows about. She's been living with her parents and working at the same feed store her dad works at. She said she wanted to reconnect because we were childhood friends and best friends for 17 years, and she missed me. She talked about her therapy and how much she had changed. She wanted me to know how much she cares and that the girl I was best friends with is still there. I'm not a nice guy anymore. I didn't want to start any conflict with her family or mine, so I told her I had also changed since she left me. I said that when I touch something and get burned, I don't touch it again. I told her it's great that she worked on herself, but some new guy will have to benefit from that. When I look at her, all I see is her crying, telling me she's leaving me while holding a proverbial knife covered in my blood. I told her that if we got back together, the resentment would make me treat her poorly, and she didn't want or deserve that. I told her good luck in her future endeavors and that I hoped she keeps up with her changes. I mentioned I had to leave to go to Iceland for Christmas. She was tearing up and trying not to let me see her cry, and I pretended not to notice. Dad was disappointed I caved to my mom and sister. He made it seem like I had failed the test of manhood. I told my mom and sister not to expect any wedding bells or grandchildren and nephews anytime soon. My brother called me a simp, so I had to wrestle him. He got me in a headlock. The guy's getting too big and I held back too much. I left for Iceland the next day and will be here until the new year. I'm headed to Budapest for a follow-up project. Sarah is not invited. User 2 is a crowd said, "Your dad and brother are right. It's amazing how little empathy your mother and sister have towards you. They both suck." User Awkward School said, "Your mom and sister are huge ass. I'd keep them on an information diet. Personally, the relationship would be different from this point on forever. They didn't respect your no, prioritize someone who hurt you and then wanted you to get back with her. But shout out to you and your shiny spine. Happy and proud you didn't let Sarah weasel her way back into your life in any capacity, not even as a social media follower. Good on you, seriously." User Samp Simp said, "It's good that you're going no contact with Sarah, but at the same time, you seem to have developed a strong sense of confidence in yourself and your ability to resist her traps. Maybe there's a part of you that still hurts, but you seem indifferent enough that I don't see much danger of temptation to go back to her. You simply don't have any desire to fulfill that possibility. For a little bit of sweet revenge, I don't see the harm in leaving your socials open and having her obsessively follow your globetrotting posts. Make her insanely jealous and there's nothing she can do about it because you're thousands of miles away.